Hi, welcome back to the Workshop Journey. Mike's over in the workshop right now. I'm not really sure what he's working on, so how about we go over and find out. Okay, that's gonna be kind of hard to build anything with a van sitting there, isn't it?
Well, hi, Dominic. Yeah, it would be.
Kind of a deja vu.
Of what?
For episode 1.
Really?
Yeah.
What was happening in episode 1? Oh,
What?
wait, let me turn down the radio station, you know, WGGG.
What does that stand for?
We give God the glory. Let's see, if I remember back to episode 1, there was a RAV sitting in here.
Yeah. Not a van.
Not a van. And I couldn't walk down here.
You couldn't.
And I couldn't open the car doors either.
No.
Let's see, episode 1. I said the part of the goal was to clean it up so that I could get a bigger vehicle in here. Well, we got a bigger vehicle. As you see, I have more space. So let me move the van out of here. I was getting ready to anyhow. We'll talk about some of the changes that have taken place in this workshop journey.
All right, let's do it.
Let's see, what else have we done in here? I'm probably not going to go in the order we did them.
That'd take too long.
Yeah. So we'll just start here and go around the room. If you remember, Dom, this was a fixed workbench.
Yeah.
And it had shelves under here that were full of short pieces of 2x4.
Mm-hmm.
So in order to make this a drop-down workbench, I had to do something with that. So as part of the cleanup, we built this rack back here in the corner to put the short pieces of 2x4 on. Also, we were kicking the shop back all around the floor.
Mm-hmm.
It kind of followed us as we were working. So we put in the dust collection system.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's just 1-inch PVC pipe with water valves, quarter-turn water valves as my blast gates. And it's got 3 ports. And then there's a cart back here in the corner that the shop vac sits in now all the time.
Mm-hmm.
So that I don't even have to mess with it.
Right.
Let's see, what else did we do? I took down the pegboard and put up a new piece of pegboard, but I cut it to fit so that I could put up the radio station, WGGG, and my charging station. These are on French cleats, so I can just lift them off the wall. Let's see. We replaced my step ladder with a ship's ladder permanently attached to the wall. This is the chop saw that was sitting over there beside the RAV. And one of the first things I did is I took it off the folding stand it was on. In fact, I don't remember if in episode 1 if I'd already done that or not.
It wasn't there in episode 1.
Okay, this was on a folding stand over there against the wall. My 2x12 planks were under the front 2 legs of it, so I couldn't move it anywhere. Well, the 2x12 planks are now up on the deck because I don't use them very often except for scaffolding when I'm working outside on siding and such. So I had this tool cart, had a piece of hardboard top. I just lifted it off and it's got a lip around it, so I made this wooden deck then to sit there. Brought my chop saw on, mounted it with the same screws or bolts that mounted it to the frame so that I have it accessible. Made this saw stop not saw stop, sorry. This stop block, the wings of my chop saw, as you can see, have a T-track in them. So I just used a T-bolt, made me a stop, so now I can go ahead and measure it once when I'm cutting things like drawers and such. Let's see, another project I did had this combination sander and scroll saw mounted on that brown cabinet over there in the corner under the shelves. So I put these on this flip top unit with drawers.
I can see you way better now.
Oh yeah, I replaced the one incandescent light bulb and one 4-foot fluorescent fixture with LED lights. I changed the wheels on the bottom of the tool cabinet so I have locking casters, more the way I like them. And then shortly after I started this process, the Lord gave me this drill press. So I built a cabinet for it. That's actually 2 episodes, I believe, because the first one was just a 2x4 framed stand.
The process of that is interesting. We'll discuss that later on.
Okay. I still have one original project left to do.
But that project has also been slightly modified, which is why it hasn't been changed yet.
Right. Behind the chop saw is a piece of white countertop. I think I'm still going to go ahead and make a top extension for the 8-inch saw. And the 8-inch saw is going to be used for putting the dado blade in for doing drawer grooves and things like that. I'm in the process of replacing that saw with a 10-inch saw. I don't want to build my stand, like you mentioned, until I get my 10-inch saw, because I want to put it at the height of my outfeed table. I organized my shelves quite a bit. We put some cubby shelves in the wall before I closed it in with the OSB board.
What's behind the OSB?
Bad insulation like I have up in the rafters.
Why do we do that?
There's no heat in this building. It's a detached garage. So in the wintertime it's cold, so we insulated the building. I come out here with my propane heater or my kerosene heater and get the temperature up, so take the gloves off, take the coat off, and I can work all year. Let's see. Over here I got a couple more French cleat projects. 2 of them, as you can see, are bar clamps. The third one is a holder for the sawhorses, because the sawhorses are so deep that the French cleat wanted to lean forward. So I had to put an extra screw in it just to anchor it. That's the majority of what we've done up here. We extended the deck space up in the loft, extended the overhead storage, but that's pretty much what we've done in the last year and a half in the workshop. It's been quite a journey.
Has.
One of the features I like is the remote control system. I've got the little 5-button remote. These little white blocks are the receivers. And I got 3 or 4 of them around. Like that one's on the bug light. So when the bugs start bothering me, I just hit the button. It comes on, goes off. So hold on a minute. I think one of them bugs tried to fly down my throat. There, that's better. So I think we'll, you'd said earlier you wanted to talk to me about a couple of the films that we had done, a couple of the episodes. So I think that concludes the tour.
How about we involve the viewers in the conversation as well?
Okay. How are we going to do that?
Well, we're going to have to reset the scene a little bit, and when we have it reset, we'll get the cameras back active so that the viewers can be part of the show.
Cool.
In wrapping up season 1 of the Workshop Journey, we decided to do a commentary. If you are familiar with the behind the scenes of any movie you buy on hard disk, I'm not sure about a lot of the digital download, they have a bonus area where you can watch a commentary, audio version of the movie as they're playing it. We're going to do the same thing, only you have one camera here looking at us, and one camera going to be on the TV as we record it. So, here we go.
You mean you don't have a rig yet that'll record everything all at once?
No, not yet. I don't want a 360 camera.
Oh, man. Okay.
Nah. So what we're going to do is wrote down a list of episodes in which we think are some of the better ones to learn from or talk about. We're going to go through them. The first one is basically a deja vu of what we just filmed of episode 1. So let's have at it.
You know, this is Saturday, and there's football games going on, or basketball games, baseball games, whatever, and there's usually commentators with those.
Yeah.
That's kind of what I feel like. I'm up in the box. I got a bird's eye view of everything going on. Do not call me Howard Cosell. Hey, I like that intro. You did pretty good on that.
I did. So right off the bat, crowded. This was not an easy shot or easy episode to film because it was just starting out. Very crowded. As we go through this episode, one of the things that was very challenging for me, the videographer, was the fact that lighting was next to non-existent. So we had to work with what we had, obviously, at the time, but it definitely was not fun. And the fact that one of the growing points for Mike here is the fact that he is an interactor. So for me being behind the camera and him in front of the camera wasn't actually working very well at the beginning. He would stumble, we'd have to do a lot of different takes and so forth. And later on in the season, you'll see it in a few of these later episodes, I was on camera with him, which made it difficult because I had to frame it. But it made it easier for him to talk. Small. You don't do anything small.
I don't know. We installed a power cord up there that wasn't that small. Oh, wait, we had to run a circuit for it.
Now, one of the things I want to mention right here is where this foam blocker is. His chop saw was actually in this corner right behind it, between it and that saw and the ladder extender. He actually started revising before we started filming, and that was one of the first things he revised. So the space was a little bit more there, but we still had that blocker, which helped because it was a guide for the car. Still didn't make it easier to get through at all. Alright, right there. If you hadn't noticed, the shot is rather granulated. When we first started filming... Rather, yeah. When we first started filming, I was using a iPod 6th generation, which shoots an 8 megapixel resolution. Not the greatest when zooming in. What we've since been using since about episode 17 or so, we're using iPhone SEs. Both the one filming there and that one filming us, which shoots in 12 megapixel resolution. Way better quality. We're shooting in 60 frames a second at 1080, and both makes editing better and makes it smoother for watching. Oh, that's so dark. Oh, that's so dark.
As I had mentioned, you can see what happens when you just pile the tools up. I went into a mental retirement mode and took all my handyman tools and just shoved them in there. Took all my project around the house tools, shoved them in there, and buried them.
Which didn't help.
It didn't help. And this project started in November of 17 when I came out to get something out of the garage. And as I was trying to find it, I don't even remember what it was immaterial. But the Lord spoke to me in my spirit and asked, at that time we were believing for a bigger vehicle. We'd made a trip back and forth cross country a few times. And the four of us were in that RAV you saw.
Tight.
So we were
not tight good. Tight as in uncomfortable.
Yes. So we were believing for a bigger vehicle. And as I walked out here to the garage to look for something, the Lord asked me, are you really believing for something for a bigger vehicle? I said, well, yeah. He said, where are you going to park it? And I looked around, and you saw how tight it was as I walked around the RAV. Couldn't get down one side, had to kind of turn sideways to get down the other side. So I said, well, in the garage. And I heard him chuckle. Yeah, kind of like that. And when he chuckled, I said, oh. And in that he gave me recall of Jerry Savelle's testimony about his first airplane. That the Lord had told him he was going to need an airplane to fulfill his ministry requirements. His schedule was going to be so busy that the commercial airlines weren't going to be able to accommodate it. So he started believing for an airplane. After a few months, he got busier and busier, no airplane. So he went to the Lord in prayer and said, where's my airplane? And the Lord said, are you living like you have an airplane? And he said, well, how do you live like you have an airplane? And the Lord asked him, where are you going to park it? And he said, in a hangar. It's too valuable to park outside. And so the Lord asked him, do you have a hangar? He goes, no. So he went and rented a hangar. And this all came back to me as I went through that mental And so I said to the Lord, well, I guess I need to clean it up a little bit. And as soon as I started, he said, as you find your tools, make them accessible and usable. And that's what I've been doing out here in the workshop journey, is making the tools accessible and usable. And I explained some of that as we were doing the tour a few minutes ago. So,
dust collection cart.
Is this episode 1 or 2?
This is episode 2, part 1 of the dust collection system.
Okay.
Now, Mike mentions in this video, as he's talking, that he really did not want to use OSB. He does not prefer to use OSB, but it's what he had on hand. And part of the point of season 1 was cleaning up the garage as he did, making things more usable. Had to use what he got. Not always fun.
That's right. And this OSB board, it's probably 15, 16 years old. So some of the large particles in it have started to come up. You can see from the edge, Yeah, it's not the smoothest wood to work with after that many years. This was before I started using AutoCAD for some of my projects. As you just saw from that note, my working drawing. Interesting, as I started working the workshop journey, shortly after I started it, things started coming to me that I didn't have before. Glory to God, His favor. January of 18, I got a laptop computer to do AutoCAD on. I received a laptop computer. We've got a couple other tools. I've received a few other tools as well out here. So it's amazing as I'm doing this, giving God the glory, as my radio station says, that things are
WGGG, we give God the glory.
Coming to me, and I receive it. Part of the blessings of the Lord is a person has to be willing to receive. Most people, most Christians say, well, I have to give to God, I can't receive from God. But we're doing a 3, 2, 1 again? But God tells us in His Word that give and it shall be given back unto you. So we need to be able to receive. And He's teaching me about receiving.
One of the things that I'm going to mention right here in this video, this right here, if you know anything about filming, you know bright hot spots are lousy on Iris. It took probably to episode 12 to 15 maybe for us to do a project that fixed that problem. And since then, you're not going to be able to see it right now, but there's a curtain now in front of the window that greatly helps with the lighting. This was annoying to try and edit.
I was going to say, you can see there the chop saw stand. That's when I had first put it on that rolling cart.
Yep.
But since then I raised it up a couple inches to make a more comfortable height for me.
Oh, the amount of change that this place has gone through in that amount of time. Now, one of the videos that was actually really fun to film and to watch him direct, well, not direct, but show some teaching moments. The fact is, the first teaching video he did, without knowing it, was the part 2 of the dust collection system, and that was putting the piping on the wall. That intro is so cool. That was such a cool project to do. It's not your typical dust collection system for 2 reasons. 1, he's using a shop vac, not a dust collection system itself. And 2, he's using water pipe. I didn't know that if it's not dealing with water, it does not have to be sealed. It can just be airtight, no big deal. It works really well. As a result, we have to take it apart and cut with something occasionally to clean it, but beyond that, it works really well.
I'm already thinking in my mind that I have to replace my piping because, as I said earlier, it's only 1-inch PVC. I'm going to replace it with 2-inch PVC, which ties it. Also, will fit the shop vac port, but that gives me greater space for the particles to go down through the dust collection tube.
Oh, that granulated resolution. Annoying.
We did get rid of the bright window in this one. We
did.
have a tarp hanging over it to block the sunlight.
And that was probably that way for about half of season 1, maybe a third of it. But the talent in front of the camera realized very quickly that his film crew was not very pleased with him. So he asked, what can I do to change it?
I'm talented now, Mom. You heard that. I'm talented.
So I told him, you got to cover that window with something because it's not good on the Iris. So we did. And this little bitty, what looks like a giant key fob, is originally what we had purchased to use on a LED spotlight. And it was right above this countertop, which is now the drop-down workbench.
That key fob and the receiver that went with it, I picked up at one of the local box stores at Christmas time as a remote for Christmas lights. So I figured it'd work for a light in here.
It did. Since then, we've replaced it with a 5-button switch that does 5 different receivers. And all but one of them is being used. Did we have the LED lighting in this episode yet, or was this just the big fluorescent on the side?
I think it was the fluorescent on the side. I don't think it was the string lights yet. We had a string of...
No, we had those. We had those in episode 1.
Did we?
Yeah. Because that was general lighting that we had. So this was probably the general lighting of the LED string lights. which is why it's so bright.
Yes.
One of the enjoyable things and sometimes annoying things about working in the workshop journey is seeing this man work on a project is awesome. But at the same time, he does need a sounding board, because someone who relays the information with him, because I'll ask him questions while filming of whatever, and it'll make him think of, okay, we need to revise that. It's both awesome and annoying, because sometimes the filming just keeps going. But the project turns out really well. Let's go a little bit further into this video.
I like that.
We've only modified the dust collection system, what, twice since we've put it up? Wants to do wide joints.
Yeah, as you can see, I had T-connectors in there, which meant it was a 90-degree corner. The airflow became constricted right there, and that was usually where it was clogging.
Yeah.
So I went through and I replaced those with sewer Ys. On a sewer Y, one leg is straight and the other side comes up, whereas on a regular Y, it V's in the middle.
Oh, we didn't need the V in the middle.
Nope, but I wanted that angle one, which is on a curve, because then it took the debris up the inlet port, around a curve, and then down the trunk.
Mm-hmm.
There are a variety of YouTube videos out there on installing dust collection systems. The concept behind them all is the same.
We actually used a part of a video that we saw on YouTube to make the cyclone system of the dust collection system, which actually worked a lot better than just trying to use the shop vac itself.
With the shop vac on the bottom section of that cart, back in the far corner, having the cyclone selector container up on top of it makes it a little bit easier to empty it.
Mm-hmm. Episode 4 next. That intro is so cool. That intro was not easy to build. He came to me asking, could I make a intro that was both dynamic and energetic. And so I went through various of questions with him on it, and that was what we finally came up with.
We didn't have the LED
no, we didn't.
String lights up there.
No, we didn't.
So that was just on the spotlight.
Well, the LEDs are also very easy to take off.
Wait.
And I see the bracket right here.
Yeah, there's one over there beside the hard hat.
Yep. So
had it hanging down so it could be seen.
Yeah. Yeah, it didn't take us very long to put that tarp up over that window.
No.
Because this is only episode 4, and it was probably up by episode 2, maybe episode 3.
Well, it was in the last one you were just looking at, so.
That was episode 3, part 2 of Dust Collection System.
Alrighty.
Oh, that wood was not a good idea to use.
Well, again, it was scrap wood, junk wood I had sitting around the shop. So I used them to clean up.
This is actually the first time that we had an additional carpenter on the set, who's my brother in a camo, and he taught us how to use the Kreg jig. He uses them most every day at work, and it's actually a pretty interesting concept. At the same time, it's kind of challenging to master because it's very specific on where you put it. This shelving unit that we are building, which is also in the corner right now, is 3 shelves. And the building of it was interesting. The filming of it was even more interesting. We didn't have the LED lighting in this one either.
Didn't have it up.
No.
I think I took it down in the corner because we saw it on the wall.
You didn't have the shop lights though.
Right. Didn't have the shop lights. I had the one string of lights. And I think I took it down to put this rack up in the corner because I was going to have to go around it, behind it, or something like that. So, over it.
This is also when you're learning how to use an impact driver more effectively.
Yes.
Alright, let's move on to the next episode. What do I have on there?
Episode 7.
Okay, overhead LED lights.
Speaking of.
Now, the lighting here greatly changed. We went from the string lights being around, I think, 2,000 lumens total for the whole thing, to each one of these shop lights is 5,500 lumens, and we have 4 of them up, which makes it significantly brighter, a whole lot better on the iris. Anyone who does film would more than likely know, if they've dealt with iris, it's easier to lower the iris than it is to try and raise the iris. Oh, look at that brightness. I think by this point I had actually switched to using my iPhone SE at 12 megapixel camera because that looks super smooth. And this actually is where a lot of the transformations of the workshop actually started. Like, more significantly noticed.
As I'm explaining there, I had the box in the wall from back around 2002 when I built the wall, separating the yard tools from the garage area. But I never put the lights up. Had the box there, but never put the lights up. That has been one of the best additions to this workshop because it retracts up above the van. Yes, we did get the van, the bigger vehicle, but it retracts up above it. It's out of the way. I don't have extension cords laying all over the floor. I really like having that overhead power cord.
It really, really helps. The fact that you basically centralized it and it's a 40-foot long extension cord, so there's nothing inside. Oh. There is nothing inside of this building that it will not reach, which is awesome. And it's 20 amps, so there's nothing in this place that won't handle either.
That's right. I'm thinking about doing something similar with airline. Because right now I have to run the airline all the way from the end of the wall to wherever I'm using the nailers. So I'm thinking about running a drop over here or a center drop. That'll depend upon how often I use the nailer as to whether or not.
This is the first video that we actually introduced time-lapse into the filming. This is not me speeding the footage up. This is actually the footage itself sped up because that's what time-lapse is. some of the people behind the scenes who have watched the time lapses are really intrigued by it. Like, oh, they move really fast when it comes to time lapse. Look how fast they move.
As you can see, even this far into it, the workshop is still a mess.
Yeah.
Because one project led to another, And I didn't have all these ideas the day I started.
No.
They were in there, they were percolating. But as I did one thing, the Lord showed me something else, and showed me something else, and showed me something else.
Well, for example, like the drop-down workbench, you would think that's one project. And that actually didn't get changed yet. You can still see it's still a solid bench. But out of that project came between 3 and 6 different projects.
Let's see, the garden center revised, the overhead storage revision, the dust collector, 1, 2, 3, at least 3.
Yeah.
You know, just coming the material out of it. But I had to have room out here in the middle of the floor to work.
You did.
At this point, I was working off of sawhorses and a couple of 2x6s and a partial piece of plywood, partial sheet of plywood, as opposed to the build-up layout outfeed table that we're currently sitting at.
Yeah. Now in this shot, the only reason why it's somewhat granulated is not because the quality of the camera is lousy. It's because I am literally right underneath the shop light, so the iris is as low as it can go, but still seeing it, and that's an excellent example of it retracting. In this workshop, that's correct. All the cord you could ever want. That is, if not the best, one of the top 5 best additions that's ever been added to this workshop. And most every project that we do here is literally using that cord.
Yeah. Yep. Stop with the talking and just get with the moving.
Another time lapse. And you can see there's a receiver right there of what we originally used with that fob. We didn't have it hardwired in, so we had to use what we had to use. And soft white or yellow to pure white. We'll stick with the pure white. Way better lighting. Alright. Next episode. Which is episode 9. Drop down workbench. So,
hey.
So 9 episodes after we started filming, we finally basically got to the workbench. And that's how many projects it took to get to that point. Oh, that intro's so awesome. That intro is so cool.
I had the idea, but you had to figure out how.
I did. And when he says he had the idea, he's not edited minded, so he had to give me the concept. I had to figure out how to make it. That took some time behind the computer of figuring it out. And most every editing concept in this YouTube channel has been that way. He gives me a concept and I have to try and figure out how it goes.
It's called God's College of Media and Woodworking. Yeah. Because I'm learning too. Comment was made to me earlier today that I'm really good at doing the rough work. Mm-hmm. My experience came from rough carpentry and doing the framing of the house, putting on the roof trusses, the roof deck. But I joined the military before my dad started putting in cabinets and door trim and such, so I didn't get the training there.
Filming at this point in the workshop wasn't easy. Yeah, we had the LED lighting over top, but if you notice, it's a black background for the most part, which makes it very interesting to try and focus any depth perception because you have white light surrounding him all from above, but nothing highlighting from behind. The iris had to be played with quite a bit in saturation and coloring in post-production. Everything on that table came from the ultimate drop down.
Yep.
And that's not underneath. That was everything on top of it. He had already taken care of the stuff that was underneath by putting it in the garden center and so forth.
Yeah.
The look on
way different.
The look on his face in the upper corner is like, and how am I gonna fix this?
Exactly.
This was actually, I realized that we were still using the general LED along with the shop light.
Well, we started out with when I went to the shop lights, I started with one.
Mm-hmm. Which is exactly what's in this footage right now. We have one shop light illuminating the middle, and that's...
And we liked it.
This one right above us.
So then I went ahead and got a couple more.
Mm-hmm.
And ended up with 4. It's basically a single bay garage. It's supposed to be a 2-car garage, but when I put the wall up, it's off-centered just a little bit, so it's about 2 foot off. So it's actually like a 1 1/4, 1 1/3 car garage. So I staggered the lights a little bit. They're not in a straight line. That gives me better lighting coverage over the whole floor.
We're going to kind of rewind this a little bit. We actually first see the first concept possibility of the T-Track that's now in the drop-down workbench with this shot here. And that is the case of he wanted to put a router table on top of the workbench by securing it. This was the first concept of it. However, will the T-Track even work on that table now? Or is it too high?
I believe it'll work on it. I haven't used the router stand since I did the drop down.
We're going to kind of go through this a little bit faster. Now
Here's an idea for you. Every time you have me using the chop saw in the shot, as you focus in on the blade coming down, the intro needs to come out. Never mind.
Now, one of the things that was really, really cool, and it was something that I thought of in post and showed it to him. I took snapshots of the drop-down workbench as it was being emptied, and then revised and rebuilt. And as a result, at the end of this episode, you can see that really cool transition, and each one's briefly highlighted, and it looks really, really cool.
Now, as you can see, we're not showing you the whole episodes,
No.
So we encourage you to go back to the beginning of our YouTube channel, episode 1.
Do a marathon out of it.
And
watch them all.
Yeah, or one
Right
a
here.
day, one a week.
Now, here's another thing about it. The outro actually has changed 3 to 4 times since we started filming. So, let's go to the next one. What is the next one on the list, sir?
If that was 7, it'll be 9. That was 9, it'll be 10.
All right. Insulating the garage door. Why did we do that?
Well, I got a steel garage door, and it's from 30, 40 years ago. And as you can see, it's just single panel. And we painted it black because we thought we were going to put black trim on the house. And when it gets 90 degrees, 100 degrees outside, the sun hitting that black surface
Heats the inside of it like an oven.
Yeah.
Not a 400-degree oven, but still hot.
As you can see on that little thermometer, magnetic thermometer, it's 90 on the inside of that.
This was probably early June, maybe late May.
It was summertime.
It was summertime, yeah. Now, both with the door insulated and most of the inside of the garage insulated, it hovers around in the summer, warmer weather. It hovers around 65 to 70. Right now, the wall thermometer says 74. And
that's up in the attic.
Yeah. Okay.
Where the vent is.
Down here it says 76.
Yeah, down here it's 76 because the fan up there is not turned on right now.
In the wintertime, what? The coldest it gets is around 35?
It got down low 30s in here. I came out, fired up the kerosene heater, came back an hour or so later, and it was up around 50.
Watching him do this with the rigid foam board was not exactly fun because the foam board wasn't exactly willing to cooperate. But once it got done, oh, that was nice. That was really nice. All right, the next episode we're going to look at is
15.
So episode 15, kind of ironic. That is back there in the corner. Episode 15, we didn't realize it, but it's actually a double episode. The first one is what we thought originally was temporary, and then around 8 episodes later, we finished the project by putting drawers in it.
Yeah, you can see that wooden crate it's sitting on. That's actually my collection box for scrap wood.
Mm-hmm.
And that drill press, when it was given to me, okay, I can put it there, that's fine. However, as I just said, I was doing some cutting, went to throw the scrap wood in the box, and I couldn't get to the box. So something had to change. And that's kind of how some of these projects have happened around here. Is I'm doing something and I go to do something else or to do something part of it, and I can't do that because something's in the way. Mm-hmm. So got to do an adjustment. And you can see by now I've got shelves up here on the back, which got things off the floor.
The curtain has been taken care of.
Yeah.
When we went to rebuild the drill press stand, in which we're building a temporary one, we realized we really couldn't build it more solid. So we decided, all right, let's just wrap it and put drawers in it. That's exactly what we did, and that is actually what episode 27 is. Again, we encourage you to go back and watch these episodes all the way through. I don't have the time today to go through all of them individually, but it's quite the journey, and it's quite actually really thrilling to see how this workshop has been transformed and actually done in a manner that's both fun, and it should encourage you to also pull yourself out of
mental retirement.
Yeah, mental retirement, other ruts in life that allows God to work through your life more. And this could be you, only in your own area of life.
That's right.
Maybe it's not workshop, maybe it's something different.
It's never too late to start.
No.
I just left the company I'd been working with for the last 20 years, and my wife and I used the term refire.
Mm-hmm.
This refired the spark that God put in me for life. Whereas the term retire, people picture growing old, sitting on the porch, rocking your chair, and having nothing to do.
Yep.
And those people go into various stages of depression and oppression because they think life is over.
Right.
Life's just starting.
One of the things about as an editor that I did in most every video, right there, I wanted the viewer to know, look, this took some time. It wasn't just a 15-minute snap-together video like I show it. It takes some time. When we insulated the garage, it took a total of 28 hours.
And those hours you show there, Dominic, are just the project.
In here. That's just in here.
Yeah.
That's not behind the scenes. That's not me editing. That it takes roughly 3 times longer to edit the video than it does to make it, which makes it interesting because of the amount of footage that we have to go through. So, because I'm the chief editor. But the crew that we have working behind the scenes is awesome.
Yeah, we are, aren't we?
They know what we're doing.
Sometimes.
They're willing to go on the fly, and it's awesome.
In the bottom of that cart, you can see I've got buckets of concrete.
Yep.
Those are the those are the anchors for my easy up. Mm-hmm. When I set it up on, like, over the driveway or something like that, those are the anchors for it. So this got them off my floor. I know where they are, mm-hmm. and it gave me some weight to counteract the cast iron drill press.
Yep. Which the same guy who's a carpenter who you saw earlier, him and a buddy of his from work actually made this
safety
case around it, because when we first got the drill press, the pulleys and the belts were completely exposed, which is a very not good thing. So they put together a safety cage.
Yeah. I will end up replacing that drill press at some point, because normally it's got a spring that holds the head up, mm-hmm. and you use the crank wheel to drop it down. This one doesn't have the spring, so I have to use a bungee cord to hold it up, and then it will fall, so I have to control it with the wheel. So at some point I will replace it.
Well, for right now, it's a really good drill press. It's quiet, it's smooth, and for the projects that he has done so far, it has worked really well.
Yep.
That is a Forstner bit.
Yep. That switch I just reached over there, it had just showed a few minutes ago. I actually installed that switch. The guy that brought me the drill press, it had a little bitty toggle switch on the back of it. So he replaced that, well, he took it off and hardwired it, and it's got like a 16 to 20 foot power cord on it. So it will go anywhere in the shop, but in order to turn it off, you had to go unplug it. No. I don't like that idea.
No.
So I put a on-off switch on it.
Wasn't originally going to do this, but let's go ahead and look at episode 27 as kind of a follow-up to that. Let's go with 25 first. So this is the first project that we did that was not in the workshop.
No, I'd say go ahead and do 27.
Okay.
Since we're on the
drill press.
Drill press.
Okay.
We'll just show a couple highlights from 27 to show what the drill press stand turned into.
This actually is when we first started experimenting with double angle. They're both the same camera. They're both the same resolution. It actually proved to be quite really cool. This is also the factor that I think this is the first in the list where you see I'm on the camera, I'm on set as well. I'm not just behind the camera. Well, if I'm behind the camera, who's running the camera? Answer is no one at this point. So I had to get it where it was framed so that all the action inside the workshop could be seen. Works out really well. Did you actually ever lower it down?
Yes. That shelf now actually sits on top of the concrete block.
Okay.
Those are 4-inch half blocks. So it actually sits on top of those. The 2x4 at the front and the back of it actually hold the blocks from sliding front and back.
Gotcha.
So they're as close to being in place
as in place can be.
As in place can be.
Compared to the last 8 videos that we've shown you today, this is a very different looking workshop. Very different looking workshop. Again, we went through some of the more bigger videos of what went on. You can see he's got now the charging station in place. The drop down looks really good. And the whole concept of the workshop has greatly transformed. And the interactor, being me on camera with him, has improved his quality on camera and allowed him to be more of a communicator/teacher versus a downspeaker. The interaction's actually been better. Just means I have to frame it up more. So let's go ahead and speed through the, okay.
See there, I'm lowering that shelf.
Yep. Let's go ahead and this is him building and actually, this is a new tool. You guys didn't see this, or if you've seen the season, you've seen it. This is his dovetail jig.
I received that from the Lord too. That router with a drop-down attachment, or a plunger. Thank you. The dovetail jig, hard case for the routers, number of bits. Guy I used to work with offered it to me at a price I was not going to refuse. So I thank you, Father God, for bringing that to me. I receive.
And with each one of the videos, one, if not both of us, have grown, been stretched, and developed along the way, which actually makes the quality really, really good because each time it's improving. And either a new skill set in editing or a new skill set when it comes to woodworking. Prior to getting that jig, he had never used the dovetail, so learning how to use it was both interesting to watch and I'm sure interesting to use. I have not used it, so I don't know.
This was also the first time I'd used these center single drawer glides. Mm-hmm. So I had to read the instructions 3 or 4 times as I was working on it. You know, that cabinet's not very wide for somebody with shoulders like I got to climb into. In the episode 15, when I was talking about what I wanted to do with it when I finished it, it was going to be about 18 inches wide. Mm-hmm. Well, I didn't widen it any when I wrapped it up here, so the space between the 2x4s didn't get any wider for me to work in. But I'm glad I kept it narrower because everything I have in the workshop, and it gives me a little bit smaller footprint. Mm-hmm.
So, let's go ahead and kind of zoom in. And that's basically all but finished product. Looks really, really good. And there you go. Again, I did, and every project, except for maybe the first video, you'll see every video has a project took about however long. And this gives you guys at home or wherever you're watching the opportunity to see this is not just something that happens in a couple hours. Some of these projects take some serious time. And if you want to do a project like this, unless you know how to be more efficient at it, you have to be willing to put in some time, and it's going to take some time to do it. Whether it be some mess ups or reconfiguration of the design, it has to be able to take some time. Some of these could be fully classified as one-day builds. If you're willing to go that solid, that long, go ahead. The projects we do, when it says 15 hours, it probably takes portions of about 3 to 4 days. Depends upon what we're doing and how well we feel on finishing the project that day. All right, let's see about episode 25.
I think that'll be the last one we look at today.
Yep. I hope you guys have enjoyed this video commentary of us looking at the season 1 and so forth. This is the only project in season 1 that does not involve the workshop, and this is actually me doing the intro as well, which worked really well. This is the first and only project in season 1 that does not involve much time in the workshop, but involves actually more challenge, and you'll see that as we go on. I'm going to not spend a lot of time on this, so we're going to go ahead and go into it. Replacing the kitchen faucet.
And as you can see, we have a third person there. Andy joined us on this project also.
Yep.
He had just got done doing a house makeover for the company he works with, and so he offered to step in and give us a hand.
And it was actually very good advice that he gave us. The process of this project actually kind of took a turn because this is not the same model that we ended up putting in. It's a different model. We didn't realize it wouldn't work.
And I cover that in the video itself as to why we had to switch them out. The first model we had was what we really preferred.
Mm-hmm. Now, one of the things in this video, they're right here. This right here is actually one of the hardest challenges in this video. On the former faucet that we did, and it's said it pretty well here, the anchor bolt was rusted clean through. Not clean through as it could snap, but clean through as it wasn't moving. So we had to take a grinder, it ended up being me, taking a grinder on the drill and just grinding the thing off. It came off.
I was trying to do this project without removing the sink from the countertop.
Yep.
I could have done that and brought it up here where we could see it. Wasn't anticipating this problem being there because I put that faucet on that sink a few years ago.
And the second challenge, the main challenge with the faucet that we had originally purchased was what he's explaining right now, is the handle of the window was interfering with the function of the sink.
Right. If we had side cranks,
wouldn't matter.
It wouldn't have mattered. If we had a double hung, wouldn't have mattered.
Hence, how to change the design, swap it out for a different one.
Yep.
And there was the finished product. And where is the outro? Here we go. This is one of the best outros we've ever done. The only difference between this now and current is the fact that the ladder's been replaced. But beyond that, the wooden one I mean, but beyond that, it's the same intro and outro, and we're not planning on changing it for a while. If you want to see the bloopers from season 1, please let us know in the comments section below, and we will start publishing the bloopers as we can. Oh, hi!
Thank you for watching the video.
We hope that you were entertained or educated by this video.
But that's not all for you to see.
So feel free to subscribe,
like,
share. We'll see you guys here next time on the Workshop Journey.